You're listening to Real Talk Texas with local expert Steve Hakes. Now, here's Steve.
Welcome back. You're listening to Real Talk Texas. I'm your host, Steve Hakes, and if you're just tuning in, I've got Alicia Trevino of Century 21 here in the studio today, and we've had a great conversation today, and last week we actually had her in as well to talk about short sales. We're talking about the distressed inventory of homes and selling those and buying those in the North Texas market. And Alicia's a true expert, and she's got a great team behind her that can really help you if you're listening out there. So make sure you reach out to us at realtalktexas.com, and we'll put you in touch with her. Alicia, we've talked about HUD today and what that is, FHA homes that are back on the marketplace and some that are insurable, non-insurable. I kind of want to touch a little bit more on that. If you go into a home and it's an FHA house and you're getting ready to bid on it and it's a non-insurable, meaning that it's got problems. As a buyer or a bidder on that property, do I get a chance to go inside that house and kind of get an idea of what the repair costs would be? How's that work?
You do get an opportunity as a buyer to go in there and take a look at the property, and you do have to turn on your own utilities, which is a cost, and make your own estimates on repairs. So, again, the house is sold as is, where is. So you have to have the money to be able to fix it up. Now, there are certain types of loans that you can get, and they call you for that type of loan. There's some rehab loans out there. But that's not necessarily the best way to go for every single person. And that's really going to depend on doing a one-on-one conversation with your realtor as to what's the best benefit. I will tell you, there are some amazing deals out there on HUD homes, but you do have to have the money reserves to be able to do some fix-up after the fact.
My oldest son, Scott, he's 27, and he's trying to figure out what type of house to buy right now. And, of course, being in the industry, I've got a friend of mine that does the rehab work and things like that. So I've kind of hooked Bill and Scott up, and they've gone to HUD foreclosure, and it seemed like they had an open house day, and there were hundreds of people in there. So Scott went in not just with himself, he went in with his person that would actually do the rehab. And when they walked out, the gentleman said, well, I got two big issues. I think it's got a foundation problem, and the pool looks like it's got some cracks in it, and so this, and the other thing. But he always also was able to give Scott an idea of what it would cost to remedy it. And Affiliated Bank Mortgage, we do HUD 203K loans as well. And what that is, if you're listening out there and don't know what that is, there's a couple types of FHA home improvement type loans. One of them is a streamline, which is where they'll budget $35,000. And basically, if you can get it all done with $35,000, then you don't have to go through such a stringent approval process and do draws like a construction loan would be.
Right.
But then we also do the full 203K, which is extensive repair. So it could have things like foundation. It could have a bad roof. It could have a lot of things going on. But you've got to be, I think, you've got to be an expert. I told my son, Scott, you're not an expert on this, and I don't think you've got the time or the willingness to really go through what it takes. But if you are, and you're listening out there, and you want to go that route, there is a lending option available for you at Affiliated Bank Mortgage, and other lenders offer those type of programs if they're certified for that.
Being in the business and doing what I do, it's a select few. There's very few people that really understand how to do 203K. So you do want to work with someone who's an expert in that type of loan. Again, the HUD homes, the foreclosures, they're all good deals. I don't think there's anything that's a bad deal on the market today. With lending and rates being as low as they are right now, I mean, you're talking, below 4%?
Yes, definitely below 4%. And I love the 15-year mortgage. I always preach that to everyone that's not putting a lot of money down. You can even get those down into the twos if you're going to stay there. And that's really an equity builder strategy, which if you're interested in that, just give me a call at 214-643-6021. That's 214-643-6021. Or reach out to me at realtalktexas.com, and I can fill you in on the strategies of building equity in a house. One of the things I always counsel my kids about is in the commercial world, and I do commercial loans as well, most of the savvy buyers will tell you, you don't really make money on the sale of a property, you make it on the buy of a property. And I think that these REOs give you that opportunity, the HUD homes especially, give you that opportunity to make some equity on the purchase price if you can buy right and you know what you're doing.
Absolutely. I tell some of my first-time home buyers, you're not buying the home you're going to be in forever, but it's a really good time to get a good deal on a property that later maybe you can turn into a rental property, start building your wealth, and then move on into buying the home of your dreams later on. This would be a really good time because where can you get into a property with $100 down payment? With today's interest rates, you only get one opportunity to build wealth, and this is it.
Absolutely. And those $100 down people are people I definitely show them, and I can email them a graphical demonstration of what happens between the time they buy the house and if they go with a traditional 30-year plan and what they would owe if they went to sell their house in 5 years. And let's talk about a first-time buyer. Newly married couple, they don't have kids yet, they buy the home. Typically, what we see in the real estate market, I want you to weigh in on this, Alicia, but typically people will buy another house within 5 years.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Sometimes
I'm seeing it at 3 now.
Sometimes
I'm seeing it at 3.
3 to 5 years. But I always like to look at the 5-year plan because that's real conservative. And I'd say, okay, here's what will happen. Here's what you'll owe on your principal balance or what's left on your debt on your home in 5 years if you do a 30-year note versus doing a 15-year note. And if you're putting $100 down, when you're exiting that house, okay, you've got it up for sale. You've got to pay real estate agent fees. You're going to pay the title fee for the new buyer. You're going to spend around 7%, roughly, to sell your house.
More like 10.
More like 10. Okay, so you've got a lot of things to think about there. So if you've only put $100 down, and in 5 years you've only paid down your mortgage, let's just say you've paid it down 3%.
Right.
Now all of a sudden you got to pay 7% to get out of your house, and people don't think about that. A lot of people, and I guess I was that way when I was in my early 20s. I remember saying, "How much a month?" I know I'm going to make more money next year. I'm climbing the corporate ladder. How much a month right now, and then that's how I budgeted everything. Which I didn't have my father.
Me out.
I didn't have a father that was in finance like my kids do, and I've learned the hard way. And so that's why I really do counsel people about. Not just your mortgage is one of the biggest financial vehicles, and buying real estate can be the greatest thing you can do. Personally, I would rather invest in real estate than invest in the stock market because I feel like I have more knowledge there. And I think if you reach out to a real estate professional like Alicia Trevino, you can lean on them if you don't personally have that knowledge.
I still believe in the American dream. And yes, we've gone through a really tough patch and it happened. But really and truly, there's no better opportunity right now to build your wealth. Sitting down and talking to me, it's really hard to express it in a 5-minute segment. But honestly, it is a wise investment. Don't be afraid. Get out there, talk to a professional about how you can plan the next 5 years, because truly this is the time to invest in real estate and to actually make money on some real estate and to build your wealth. So don't be afraid to reach out and find out what's available, especially with the rates as low as they are. You cannot lose.
I tell my kids this: if you're looking to buy a house, first-time buyer, and you don't have 20% to put down, if you can't afford the 15-year payment, then you're not looking at the right house because of what we just talked about building equity, because you need to, right? And you need to build wealth in your assets. And yes, back when I bought my first house and I said, how much a month? I'm an eternal optimist. I used to think, okay, well, the houses will go up 5% a year in value. So in 5 years, it'll be worth 25% more. I won't have to worry about that. Well, that's in Texas. We have a gradual growth. It's not a huge growth. Although I personally think that in the next 5 years, we're going to see a big increase.
We're going to see a big increase. We've seen a big increase this year, right at about 7%, which is pretty amazing for our marketplace. So everything's so affordable right now. It's cheaper to buy a home than to rent a home. So everything makes sense right now. I think the general public is just very afraid because of what's happened, what was in the news. But even our friend Steve Brown is saying things are good, and he normally doesn't like to say that.
That's right. That's right. And so, if you look at what your payment would be on a 15-year note right now versus what a 30-year note would have been, say, 4 years ago, there's about $100 difference that you may pay, just slightly more. But because 4 or 5 years ago, rates were much higher.
Right.
So that's where I always look at how much a month. Well, let's find something that's works for you in your financial future that's a great deal. So here's a perfect storm for you if you're listening out there on Real Talk Texas. perfect storm is this. Reach out to Alicia Trevino, and you can reach her at aliciatrevinouptown.com. That's aliciatrevinouptown.com, or call her directly at 214-876-4567. That's 214-876-4567. And she will line you up with the best buy out there, okay? Give you the right advice to get that house at the right price. And then also call me or reach out to me at realtalktexas.com. I'll provide the financing and give you the financial advice that you need when you're really planning your future with your home. So I'm going to wrap this up today. I really appreciate you listening in here. And next week, tune in. We're going to talk about how to flip that house. And so we'll have a local expert on coming in, buying homes, fixing them up, flipping them, and also giving you advice about the risk and rewards of getting into that business. So make sure that you tune in next Sunday at noon here on KLIF News and Information.
This program is brought to you by the Real Estate Radio Network. Visit realestateradio.us for more info. That's realestateradio.us.